To me, the more people that talk about Jack and Lily, the better it is. I don't care who they are. They can state whatever they want that isn't true. I don't care.
So are you thinking that the dogs will go in there and won't find anything?
I know for 100% they won't find anything.
In the quiet rural roads of Nova Scotia, two voices tell drastically different stories about the same tragedy. One speaks of hope against all odds. The other speaks with a certainty that chills those who hear it. On May 2nd, 2025, 6-year-old Lily Sullivan and her 4-year-old brother Jack vanished without a trace from their home on Gairloch Road. But this isn't just another missing children case. This is a story about family fractures, competing narratives, and the dangerous power of certainty in the face of the unknown. At the center of this mystery stand two figures locked in a battle of voices that has captured national attention. Belinda Gray, the children's paternal grandmother, refuses to let their names fade into silence. She speaks with raw desperation, clinging to any thread of hope, no matter how thin. I don't care if it's true or not. Keep their names alive. But across this divided family stands Daniel Martel, the children's stepfather. His words carry a different weight, one that has left investigators, family members, and the public deeply unsettled. Tonight, we examine how two opposing voices can reshape an investigation, divide a community, and raise questions that may never find answers. This is the story of Lily and Jack Sullivan, and the battle of voices that continues to echo through the hills of Nova Scotia. Before we begin, if you care about missing children cases and want to help keep stories like this visible, subscribe now and hit that notification bell. Your engagement directly helps amplify cases that need attention. Now, let's uncover the truth. Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia. Population barely 300 souls, spread across rolling farmland 30 kilometers from New Glasgow. It's the kind of place where children play in endless backyards and neighbors know each other's business. Until May 2nd, 2025, it was also the kind of place where children didn't simply vanish. At approximately 10 a.m. that morning, a 911 call shattered the quiet. Malihia Sullivan, mother of Lily and Jack, was calling to report her children missing. They had, according to her and stepfather Daniel Martel, wandered away from their home on Gairloch Road. The details of that call remained sealed, but what followed was immediate and massive. Search and rescue teams descended on the area. Helicopters circled overhead. Hundreds of volunteers combed through dense woods and swampland that stretched for miles in every direction. Lily, 6 years old, described as small for her age. Jack, just 4, barely more than a toddler. Both reportedly prone to wandering, according to their mother and stepfather. But as hours turned to days, something else began to emerge from the chaos of the search effort. Family fractures that ran deeper than anyone had initially realized. And two very different stories about who these children really were and what might have happened to them. 60 miles away in Middle Muscoda, Belinda Gray was watching the news coverage with growing alarm. As the children's paternal grandmother, she had been fighting for access to Lily and Jack for months before their disappearance. Gray had documented what she claimed were concerning conditions in the children's home. Photos showing injuries on the children that she believed were unexplained. Reports to child services that she felt had been ignored. A custody battle that had grown increasingly bitter. My heart tells me these babies are gone, but I will never stop fighting for them. I don't care what anyone says. I will keep their names alive. Gray's voice became the sound of maternal anguish transformed into relentless advocacy. She spoke to anyone who would listen: reporters, podcast hosts, social media influencers. She created a YouTube channel dedicated to her grandchildren's case. She organized vigils and search parties. But Gray's approach wasn't universally welcomed. Some saw her public campaign as helpful pressure to keep the case visible. Others saw it as interference with an active investigation. The RCMP had advised family members against speaking to media. Gray defied that guidance repeatedly. She spoke with the raw emotion of someone convinced she was racing against time. I don't care if it's true or not. Keep their names alive.
But she doesn't care.
To me, The more people that talk about Jack and Lily, the better it is. I don't care who they are. They can state whatever they want that isn't true. I don't care, because people...
These children deserve to be remembered. But across the family divide, another voice was telling a strikingly different story. Daniel Martel's voice carried a different quality entirely. Where Belinda Gray spoke with desperate hope, Martel spoke with unshakable certainty. It was a certainty that made people profoundly uncomfortable. Martel had been in Lily and Jack's lives for approximately 2 years. He lived with them and their mother in the rural home where they disappeared. According to police documents later released, he was the last person to see the children before they vanished. In early interviews, Martel maintained that the children had simply wandered off. He described them as prone to exploration, difficult to contain. But it was his response to questions about expanded search efforts that caught public attention.
So are you thinking that the dogs will go in there and won't find anything?
I know for 100% they won't find anything.
So
Cadaver dogs will not find anything. The statement was striking in its specificity. Not, I hope they won't find anything. Not, I don't think they'll find anything. Simply, definitively, cadaver dogs will not find anything. For investigators and the public, the question became, how could anyone be so certain? Was this the voice of someone desperate to maintain hope? Or was it something else entirely? Martel submitted to polygraph testing in June 2025. According to his own statements, he passed. But polygraph results are not admissible in Canadian courts, and police have not confirmed his claims about the results. As weeks turned to months, Martel's certainty never wavered. While Gray organized searches and pleaded for public attention, Martel remained largely silent, emerging only occasionally to make statements that seemed designed to close down speculation rather than encourage it. Two voices, two approaches, two completely different relationships with hope and certainty, and caught between them, the memory of two missing children. As summer progressed, court documents began revealing the scope of the RCMP investigation. Nearly a dozen specialized units were involved. Digital forensics experts examined phones and computers. Search teams deployed ground-penetrating radar. Behavioral analysts studied every public statement made by family members. The investigation revealed troubling details about the children's home life. Reports to child services dating back months before the disappearance. Photos showing unexplained injuries on both children. Questions about supervision and care that had never been fully resolved. But perhaps most significantly, the investigation began to paint a picture of two children who were far more isolated than initially reported. Neighbors described rarely seeing them outside. School attendance records showed concerning patterns of absence. Against this backdrop, the battle between Gray and Martel's competing narratives grew more intense. Gray called for a public inquiry into how child services had handled reports about the children's welfare. She demanded transparency, accountability, answers. These babies were failed by every system that was supposed to protect them. And now they're gone, and nobody wants to take responsibility. Martel, meanwhile, maintained his position that the children had simply wandered off. He expressed frustration with what he called speculation and rumors. But his statements continued to carry that same unsettling certainty. By August 2025, the RCMP announced they would be deploying cadaver dogs to search areas around the family home. It was an acknowledgement of what many had begun to suspect, that this case might not end with two children found safe. The announcement brought Gray's voice and Martel's certainty into direct collision. The deployment of cadaver dogs should have been routine investigative procedure. But in the context of Daniel Martel's absolute certainty that they would find nothing, it became something more charged, a test of competing realities. Belinda Gray saw the deployment as validation of her concerns. She had been pushing for more aggressive search methods for months. The decision to bring in cadaver dogs suggested police were finally considering the possibility she had been voicing all along. But Martel's previous statement hung over everything like a challenge. Cadaver dogs will not find anything. The true crime community, which had been following the case closely, seized on this dynamic. Gray's emotional appeals for help had resonated with podcast hosts and YouTube creators. Her willingness to share details and speak openly made her an ideal source for content creators hungry for authentic voices. Martel, by contrast, had become an enigma. His rare public statements were dissected and analyzed. His certainty was interpreted as everything from denial to confidence born of knowledge others didn't possess. As autumn arrived in Nova Scotia, the physical search for Lily and Jack had evolved into something more complex. A psychological investigation into family dynamics, competing narratives, and the dangerous power of certainty in uncertain times. The cadaver dogs completed their work. No significant discoveries were reported. Martel's prediction had proven correct, but rather than providing closure, this seemed to deepen the mystery surrounding his unwavering certainty. As we conclude our examination of this case, we're left with more questions than answers. 2 children remain missing. 2 voices continue to tell dramatically different stories about their disappearance. And a community remains fractured by uncertainty. Belinda Gray continues her public advocacy, driven by a grandmother's love and a conviction that silence equals surrender. Her voice carries the pain of unanswered questions and the determination of someone who refuses to let go. Daniel Martel maintains his position, speaking with a certainty that continues to unsettle those who hear it. His voice suggests knowledge of outcomes that others can only fear or hope for. The truth about what happened to Lily and Jack Sullivan on May 2nd, 2025, remains hidden. But this case has revealed something equally important: the power of voices to shape narratives, influence investigations, and divide families even in the face of shared tragedy. The battle between hope and certainty, between transparency and silence, continues to echo through the hills of Nova Scotia. And somewhere in that echo, the memory of 2 children waits for resolution. The investigation remains active. If you have any information about the whereabouts of Lily and Jack Sullivan, contact the RCMP immediately. This is Crime Chronicles, where we examine the cases that challenge our understanding of family, truth, and justice. If this case moved you, subscribe now to stay updated on developments and help keep missing children's stories visible. Share this video to expand the reach of Lily and Jack's story. Comment below with your thoughts on how family dynamics can complicate missing persons investigations. And remember, behind every true crime story are real people searching for real answers. Until next time, keep questioning, keep searching, and never let the voices of the missing fall silent.